chat to you today about normal. I wanted to encourage you with normal. I wanted to make sure that none of us go back to normal. I don't like going back. I don't think going back is a good thing unless you're going back to learn and then propel yourself forward. But I'm one of those people that's always blinkered with forward. Let's progress. Let's move forward. And I do look back a lot to learn, to heal maybe from past things. But really, when I look back, it's with a purpose so that I can move forward. I'm not one of those people that like to dwell in the past, but I massively like to use the past so that I can move forward. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the future. And I entitled this talk, Normal is So Last Year, with a bit of a play on words, because obviously last year was normal and this year's just been there's no words to describe this year. It's been surreal. It's been like nothing any of us have ever known. And so what does the future look like? That's a question that many of us are asking. It's a question that many of us are perhaps pondering on. Many, like over 30,000 people in this country alone are grieving, and the future is a very uncertain, sad prospect. Many are losing or have lost their business, and the future is very uncertain. Many are unsure about their jobs. I mean, the future, it means so many different things for so many people. And how many of us are saying, I can't wait to go back to normal? I want to challenge you today to stop saying that. I want to give you something that I hope will make the future so much better than it could ever have been had we not been faced or thrust with this pandemic. So you know me, I love alliteration, I love puzzles, I love things to rhyme. So obviously I have something for you today that has 3 P's. 3 P's. I'm going to work through what I've been going through and the benefits that I've found to the season and the excitement I have for the future based on this season. Now, I don't want to be insensitive to anyone who's grieving or struggling at this time. If you're grieving the loss of a loved one or the loss of a business, you need to take time to grieve first. I'm going to start with that. You need to take time. Grieving is a very important part of life. And I don't want you to feel that if you in that time of grieving that this is for you for now, because it's not. But you can come back to this when you've ended your time of grieving and you feel ready to move forward. Then please come back and watch this video. It'll be online forever. But people who are grieving, it's essential to give yourself to the grieving process. Only then can you be fully healed and ready to move forward. So, but if that's not you and you are fortunate enough not to have suffered loss in this time, but you're still feeling a bit discouraged, you're lacking direction, maybe lacking hope, maybe fearing going back to normal. I'm going to be speaking to 2 sides of the coin today. In everything I say, there will be a flip side. There will be one side and then there will be a flip side. And so to the first group of people, I want to talk to those who have been pushing themselves too hard. You know who you are. You instantly resonated with that. You have been pushing yourself too hard for too long. That's the one side of the coin. And I'm going to be speaking to you in a different way that I'm going to be speaking to those of you who you know have been slacking. You've been playing it safe or holding back for fear, for laziness, whatever the reasons are. I'm not talking to those of you who've been holding back because you're recovering from something, but I'm talking to those of you, you know you haven't been giving it your best. And when I say it's not only business, it's life. It could be anything in your life. So there's 2 sides to the coin. Some of you have been overdoing it. Some of you have been underdoing it. And there are very few of you who have slap bang in the middle, got the balance right. But even if that's you and you feel, no, I've really worked hard on getting the balance, I have the balance right, there's still something in this for you today. So the first P is pause. In order to move forward into the new normal, which I hope will be nothing like last year's normal for you and for us, you need to pause. And what do you do when you pause? You reflect. So pause and reflect. That's the first point I wanted to talk about. Don't know who that is, but they're going to have to wait. Pause and reflect. So make sure that you are taking time to slow down and stop for a bit. Pausing isn't stopping completely. You don't need to stop completely unless you want to. There are those of you who do need to actually stop completely for an extended period of time. I'm one of those people, and I'm doing that. I'm beyond pause and reflect. I'm like, stop and just, I don't know what the rhyming S would be for it, but really need to stop and reflect. In your time of reflection, what are you looking at? You are looking at what were you unhappy with? So when we're reflecting on what we used to call normal. We're reflecting on last year, perhaps, or the beginning of this year. We're pausing and reflecting on our concept, our definition, our perception of what we have been calling normal, and that normal that we're longing to go back for. I'm hoping after today, you won't be longing to go back to that normal. So we're pausing and reflecting. First of all, what were you unhappy with? So in your life or in your business, in your family, or in your relationships, any area of life, what were you unhappy with? Because the most obvious thing to say to you is that if you were unhappy with it, why do you want to go back to it? Sometimes it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. Have you heard that saying? Sometimes it's a case of, I didn't like it, I wasn't happy with it, but at least I can manage it, or at least I can control it, or at least I'm comfortable with it. I wasn't happy with it, but the unknown is more scary than going back to the known. Now, this is a brilliant opportunity for all of us to pause and reflect on what we were not happy with. And the first thing that we need to do is to write it down. Sometimes things get stuck in our head, and we can overthink things, and we get confused, and we get all jumbled up, and we can't make sense of things. Get it out of your head and put it onto paper. So write down, what were you unhappy with? Now, going forward into the new normal, which we need to give another name, let's call the way forward the future, because that's exactly what it is. Going into the future, away from what we used to call normal, let's make a decision that if we were unhappy with it, we are going to use this time of pausing to change it and not allow that back into our life. Now, you might be sitting there saying, well, that's all good and well for you to say, Angela, you don't know what my problem is. You don't know what the situation I'm facing. You're right. I don't know. And it's easier for some than others to make this change. But I guarantee, I'm 100% sure, if there's something that you were really unhappy with when things were normal, there is a way for you not to go back to it. You may not be able to do it alone. You may have to take some sort of legal action. You may have to make some life changes. You may have to do something drastic. You definitely need to get somebody to hold you accountable and walk with you through it, especially if it's a major thing. But what were you unhappy with? Write it down. And then don't say, I can't. Say, how can I? How can I not allow this come through into my future? So we're going from normal. We're transitioning through pause and reflect, and we're building our future strategically and intentionally. And the first thing we're not going to allow to come through is that thing or those things that you were already unhappy with. What can you change? So maybe you weren't completely unhappy with these things, but these are things that you know they've needed changing. Maybe it's a tweak, maybe it's a smaller thing. But when you're pausing and reflecting, write down what can you change and why. Essential. Why you need to change those things. Because if you don't have a clear why on why you need to change these things, then you're less likely to be committed to making the change. Write that down. Get it out of your head. Write it down. Pause and reflect. It doesn't mean just pause. It means pause and reflect. It means take time to sit and look at what you've written down. Take time to meditate on it. Take time to strategize and chew on it and figure out how you're going to make these changes. Then we look at, why is the way ahead better? So we don't want to go back to normal. We want to go through to the future, and we want it to be different. Why is the future better? Write that down. So when you're pausing and reflecting, why is what you have in mind for your future better? And then finally, as you're going through your pause and reflect time, consider the consequences of going back to normal. Be honest with yourself. If you went back to normal, if you went back to the way things were 100%, how would you feel? Put yourself back to where you were, your normal, and mentally take yourself there. Close your eyes, put yourself in a day in the life of, put your name after the ... and think how do you feel? Are you feeling like, oh, stressed? Are you feeling unhappy? Are you feeling happy? Think about the way ahead and how can it be better? Why is it better than normal? Now I'm going to share a little bit of my journey with you. And that is that I have been way overdue for a rest, a proper rest, for many years now. And when I first started my business 7 years ago, a few years in, I suffered with a bout of depression purely from burnout. I wasn't sad. I wasn't unhappy. I was burnt out. And the chemicals in my brain were, and everything that's supposed to fire in my brain were not working properly. And I needed help so that I could start producing more serotonin and I could get back to a reasonable level of mental health. I experienced that. I understood what happened to me, why it happened, and I knew the warning signs for me that if I allowed myself to get back in that state, I would go back into a state of burnout and depression, and I didn't want to go back there. I hated it. It was horrible. So I have known that I'm teetering on the edge of that again because I've been pushing myself too hard and been bordering on burnout again. But I, despite my best efforts, have not managed to find a way to rest. And to be honest, that's an excuse because I really should have and could have, and there's always a way. But nevertheless, slap on the wrist, this season for me has been the perfect opportunity to say, right, I'm going to take that rest that I've been planning for the past few years. I'm going to take that break that I've been talking about, and I know that I desperately need. So I pause and reflect. So in my case, it's a full stop. I'm stopping. I'm completely tools down, taking my hands or trying to take my hands off the business, letting the team run with it. And I'm taking a proper stop, a long-term stop. I'm not just taking it for the furlough that the government's paying. I'm taking it beyond that. I'm taking a really good, long, hard rest. It's important that I do that. And in my pause and reflect, I believe I'm going to become a better, stronger person, wife, mother, businesswoman, and I'm going to come back with so much more to give than I ever had. Now, if I look back at my normal right now, if I'm honest with you, I feel a bit of anxiety. I feel like I can't go back to that. I can't go back to that. It was too much. It was too intense. It was too stressful. It was having an effect on my physical health. It was having an effect on my mental health. And so if I were to put myself back into a day in the life of Angela not too long ago, what I would feel would be anxiety. I would feel, no, I don't want to go back to that. So for me, this is personal to me. For you, it may be different. But for me, I've made the decision that moving forward, I'm never going to allow myself to be in that position of stress. I'm never going to allow myself to go back to that normal. That was my normal. I was normally stressed. In fact, I've had a few stressful moments, like call it an hour. I've had a few stressful moments as I've been handing over the business. And I instantly recognized that I went, and my shoulders went up and I was stressed and everything just kicked in. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going back to that. I will not allow myself to go back to that. So for me personally, pause and reflect. The first thing is there's no way after I've had this rest that I'm going to come out of it and allow myself back to what used to be normal for me ever again. My life is too short. I've got too much life left to live, and I'm killing myself literally by allowing myself to be under that much stress, under that much pressure. And what for? At the end of the day, is it really worth it? So that's a personal, why is the way ahead better for me? the way I feel now, the energy I have now, the enjoyment of life that I haven't felt in such a long time that I have now, and so many other things. That's why the way ahead is better for me, because I'm already starting to taste what life could be like, and I don't want to go back. However, patterns and mindsets and habits are very hard to break. They take a long time to break. If I sat down to work now, I would instantly be back into that that way of thinking, that way of behaving. So it's going to take me time to work this out, so to not allow myself to go back. But what about you? As you pause and reflect, as I said, there's a flip side to the coin. I'm the one extreme. I'm aware that I'm the extreme, but there are other extremes. There are those of you who haven't been pushing yourself. You've just been floating along. You've just been, happy with mediocrity. You've been like, oh, I could do better, but really, could I be bothered? And this is an opportunity for you to pause and reflect and decide if you don't want to push yourself a little bit more. Maybe get a bit more out of life. Maybe, go for excellence and not mediocrity. And there are some of you that aren't relating at all to what I'm saying because you're not having a season of rest. This pandemic for you is the most stressful time. And you're doing what you have to do. And we are so grateful for those of you in public service. We are so grateful for you manning the tills at our local shops. We are so grateful for you. And if you do get time to watch this video, you're probably thinking, well, where do I fit in? This has nothing to do with me. And absolutely it is. It's not relevant to you right this minute, right now. But when you can get a moment, these principles you can use as well. You can pause and reflect as well, and you can still not go back to normal. So please don't think that this is not relevant for you. It just might not be relevant for you this month or this day, but it is relevant for you because you also don't want to go back to normal. You want to go forward into your bright and amazing future. So the next P is ponder on purpose. So you've done your pause and reflect, you've written your things down. Now it's time to really do some deep thinking. Ponder on purpose. Now that can have dual meaning, can't it? Either you're pondering on purpose, in other words, you're intentionally pondering, or you're pondering on your purpose. You're pondering on what you're in this world for. What are you in business for? What is this all about? What is my purpose? And so it means both. It means both. It's not one or the other. I want you to ponder on purpose and I want you to ponder on your purpose. So first of all, thinking about purpose, what do you really want from life? Write it down. What do you really want from life? And if you're fortunate enough to be in a season of rest, in a place of rest now, and you have time, really take a good, long, hard look at what you want from life and start making any adjustments that you can now. If you are not able to rest right now, then come back to this. Start thinking about it as you go about your busyness, but definitely keep it in the back of your mind so that when you get an opportunity to start making changes, you can. What do you really want from life? This is an essential question. Because if you're frustrated right now, you are not getting what you want from life. You are lacking direction. You're lacking purpose. You're confused. You're like, and normal for you is going to be going back to that. Why? Is your normal going to be going back to lacking direction, feeling confused, lacking purpose, having this weight on your shoulder? Well, that's not what you want from your life. Take time to think about what you really, really want. What's important to you? And it might be drastic. It might be a drastic change from being an accountant to a photographer. It might be from living in this country to living in another country. It might be from, who knows, I don't want to put too much out there, but think about your life. What do you really want from life? It might be, you really do want to lose weight and you need to put some effort into your health. And you've been so busy and so stressed that you haven't been able to. I'm going to look physically different after my rest. Maybe you won't even recognize me because I've wanted to lose weight and work on my health for such a long time. And yes, I've eaten healthy. Yes, I've gone to the gym. But there's scientific evidence that stress is fattening. And I've been very stressed. I've been 20 kilograms worth of stress. And I've been wanting to lose those 20 kilograms for such a long time. But in order to lose it, dieting and exercise and supplements and meditation and mindfulness and everything that I've been doing hasn't worked, because the reason that I put on that weight and struggled to lose it was stress. And so, yes, for me, what do I really want from life? Well, part of it is I want to get my physical health back to the point that I want to physically look different and be energized in a new way. And there are many other things. I want more family time. I want more time in my garden, you name it. There's a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to go into all my hopes and dreams for the future. But what about your hopes and dreams for the future? What's important? What do you really want from your life? Write it down. Be honest. Either you're so far from it, you don't know how you're going to get on track, or you're quite close and you just need to nudge yourself a little closer to what you really want from life. Regardless, take one small step, put your one foot in front of the other, and make sure it's in the right direction. Knowing what you want from your life, knowing what you want is the first thing that you need to put in place, because then at least you have direction. If you don't know what you want, you have no direction, and you're going to be walking around in circles. You're going to be like a dog chasing its tail. Figure that out. If you need help figuring these things out, we do have an amazing mentoring course at Women's Business Club that will help you figure out the basics, who you are and what you want. We start talking right there, the very basics. Who are you and what do you want? So if you want more information about how you can get one-on-one mentoring support, just leave me a comment below and I'll put you in touch with one of our mentors, or if I have capacity, I could support you as well, but not during my rest season. Then once you've looked at what you want from life, have a look at how does your professional life, the thing you do to make a living, the thing you do to bring money in, how does that build your dreams? Is it aligned to building your dreams? Is what you do to make money actually the thing that's building the life you dream of? Or is what you're doing to make money sucking the life out of you, but it's paying the bills? But it's so far from the life you dream of that you don't know how you're ever going to connect the two. You can change that. You can change that, I promise you. If you are just surviving to pay the bills and making money, and yet your dream life is over here, I promise you from the bottom of my heart that can change. That's no way to live. So please get in touch if you need support. Get in touch if you feel like you just can't find the way forward, because we do have an amazing team that can support you at Women's Business Club. But don't accept that as normal going forward. Don't accept that as your normal going forward. That has to change. And then the third thing, when I'm talking about ponder on purpose, is what is the real purpose to what you want to do? What is the real purpose? There must be purpose to what you're doing. It can't just be, oh, I need to pay the bills, or I want to get rich, or I want to help people. You know, what is the real underlying purpose? Dig deep and find that, and that will help you get through this transition into your future, but that will sustain you in your future. If you don't have a real deep purpose, then you're not going to be able to sustain what your new normal is. Now, it can be a variety of things. There's some things that I desire that's very important to me in terms of lifestyle. So I'm by nature, I'm an introvert, and I like to be alone, and I like peace and quiet. And when extroverts come into the office and work with me, we drive each other mad, because they want to talk all the time, and they want to play music, and they want to faff, and I'm like, I just want to focus. Okay? So, but I know that about me. And part of my purpose is that I need to create a life that's filled with peace, so that when I go out and spend time with people, I have a lot to give. I'm energized. When I go out and I serve my community, I have something to give. If I didn't build a life with that as part of my purpose, I would be so drained and empty and literally stressed and rattled, because I know that about me. So part of my purpose is very selfish in a way, but essential for me to fulfill my other purpose, which is to encourage you. I know my purpose in life is to help people unleash their potential. And it took me years to pin down that as my primary purpose. But I know that I'm here to serve you. I know that my purpose on planet Earth is to bring encouragement to the world, to help people be empowered, to help people to find what's inside of them and unleash it, and to help people find their purpose. Now, how I do that varies. I do that in many different ways. I do that in the business context, where I support business women through Women's Business Club. I do that at home and for my family. I do that in a church context. I go to churches and serve in church. I do that in my community. Sometimes I even dabble in politics, and I do that in a political environment. There are many different ways, but I can do that, and I can enjoy that because I know that about me. I know that that's what I'm meant to do on planet Earth. And so my purpose is a mixture of what I need to be the best version of me, i.e. what I just said recently. One of the things I need is peace. I don't need drama. I don't need noise. I need peace. And so I work hard at building a lifestyle that's underpinned with peace. I need that personally, so that I can fulfill my real purpose, which is very people-focused, very intensely helping people find their potential. I do that as a public speaker. I do that as a mentor. I do this in a myriad of different ways. But it's taken me many years to be able to articulate my purpose that clearly. What's your purpose? Maybe you have been on a journey and you already know, or you're close to knowing, or maybe you've never considered at all your purpose for planet Earth because you've been like that little duck, paddling like mad underneath, appearing all smooth on top, but underneath you paddling like mad, and you're just like out of breath, and you've never taken time to consider anything other than how can I pay the bills? How can I feed my kids? How can I? Or maybe even you are paddling and trying to earn a living for things that you don't really need. There's one thing about earning a living for survival and paying the bills and feeding your kids. There's another thing in earning a living because you are living above your means, because you want more than you need. Rather downsize, need less, so that you can get to a place of purpose and then rebuild on that. If you can hear the cat meowing in the background, I'm so sorry. She's in labor. I'm expecting kittens. Yay! Anyway, hopefully you can't hear her, but anyway. The third P is position with resolve. So you've come through this process, pause and reflect, ponder on purpose. Now you're going to position with purpose. You're going to come through a time of rest or weirdness, whatever you want to call it, from normal into your future. And you are going to go into your future with resolve. You're going to be, this is my position, and I'm going to do it on purpose. So the first thing you want to do to position yourself with purpose is set clear goals with boundaries based on what really matters. That's how you're going to start to position yourself. Do we have kittens? Not yet. Position yourself by setting clear boundaries, clear goals with boundaries on what really matters. Now, going back to my personal example, boundaries for me will mean that I limit my workload so that I can achieve a more peaceful lifestyle. Boundaries for me will mean saying no to a lot more things, doing a lot less, so that I can be more and ultimately give more. It could be a family context for you. It could be a relational context. Do you have someone in your life that you need to set boundaries with because they are sucking the life out of you, or they're taking too much of your time, or they're bringing you down? Does it need to be boundaries in business? Whatever it is for you, set clear goals with boundaries based on what really matters, based on your purpose, based on what's important to you, based on the life you want to build. The second thing is refuse to go back to normal. If you want to position yourself with resolve, you can't be dabbling between past and the future. You can't be dabbling between what you deem to be normal and the life you want to have. You need to very clearly refuse to go back to that and force yourself, press on to the future. In order to do this, there will be a wrestle, an internal struggle within you. There will be this temptation to go back to normal because that was a comfortable place. even if it was traumatic. A lot of abused women go back into abusive relationships because it's easier to go back into that familiar setting than it is to go out into the big unknown. It's really hard sometimes to get out of a situation that's not best for you and force yourself into a situation that is best for you, but you can do it. You can, and you will do it. And if you need support, that's exactly what Women's Business Club exists for. And then thirdly, position yourself on the path to your success story. And that's my final point. And you need to be clear on what you want and where you're going, and then you position yourself on the path. You're not going to achieve it overnight. It takes on average 20 years, 10,000 hours to achieve an overnight success. I love saying that because it's so funny, but yet it's so true. Nothing just happens, but you need to position yourself on the path and start taking one step at a time. And maybe one day you have a bad day and you take a step back. That's okay, because you're on the path, you're on the right path. Keep moving forward one step at a time and build your success story. And with that big end, I want to encourage you, if you need support in business, if you want to build a business, grow a business, save a business, start a business, or build your career, or any sort of professional capacity, please come and join us at Women's Business Club. I'll pop the link for our group in the comments if you don't already have the information. Because at Women's Business Club, we are working on your success story. We have an entire model, an entire system that's designed to handhold anybody who wants to improve their professional life in any way and take them through a clear and structured system. We have our success story book. Oh, I don't have one handy to show you, but they're really, really cool. We have our success story vault. We have success story mentors, you name it. We have an entire system that can support you in whatever way you need support to progress your professional life one way or another, whatever that means to you. And so I encourage you, if you want more information, leave me a comment below and I'll send you the information that you need, or get in touch in any way that you like, because we'd absolutely love to help you create, build, and share your success story. So I hope that helps. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you're doing. I would love to hear what you think of the 3 Ps. Are they helpful? Do you have any feedback? Do you have any personal stories or anecdotes you want to share with us? Let's do this together. Sometimes the hardest thing is changing our normal. Yet, if we're constantly talking about it, doing it together, keeping accountable with each other, I know that we can all come out of this thing so much better, so much stronger, with not going back to normal, but with a brighter, better future. And this economy in the country, in the UK, globally, our economy needs rebuilding, and it's going to take you and I to do it. It's going to take every single one of us to rebuild this economy. And isn't it a wonderful way to do it? By actually doing the 3 Ps, figuring out what we want, and building an income stream or multiple income streams into our life based on what we're truly passionate about, building the life that we really want to live, and thereby being positive and energized and helping others. And what's the end result? A stronger, better economy for us all. So this isn't just about you and your little thing that you're struggling with, or me and the little thing I'm trying to do. It's about collectively what happens when all those little things succeed. We make a global difference. So let's start a movement. I'll chat to you in the comments. See you over there in a bit. Bye.